Dr. Luna Rodriguez stared at the empty coffee cup on her desk for the third time that morning. The same routine, every single day for the past 18 months. Wake up, shower, coffee, work, sleep. Repeat. Her life had become a gray circle of meaningless tasks since the day everything changed. She worked at the Global Space Research Center, one of the biggest facilities on Earth for studying life beyond our planet. Before the accident, Luna loved her job. She would spend hours looking through telescope data, searching for signs of alien life in distant galaxies. The work excited her, filled her with wonder about what might be out there in the vast universe. But now she just went through the motions. Her colleagues noticed the change. Dr. Williams from the chemistry lab had stopped by her office just yesterday, asking if she was okay. Luna had given him the same fake smile she'd been using for months and said she was fine, just tired. Truth was far more complicated than anyone could imagine. Luna wasn't entirely human, though she looked just like everyone else. Her mother had been a regular Earth woman, but her father came from a distant star system called Zephyr Prime. This made Luna different in ways that no one around her could understand. People from her father's world experienced emotions much more deeply than humans. When they found someone to love, really love, it created a connection that went beyond anything earthly relationships could match. It was like having two hearts beating as one, two souls sharing the same dreams and fears. Luna had found that kind of love with Commander David Torres, a brave astronaut who worked on dangerous missions in space. David didn't know about Luna's alien heritage. She had planned to tell him someday, when the time felt right. They had been together for 3 beautiful years, planning a future that seemed bright and full of possibilities. Then came the Titan Station. Disaster Titan Station was a mining facility built on one of Saturn's moons. Over 800 people worked there, extracting rare minerals needed for Earth's growing space program. David had been sent there as part of a security team to investigate some technical problems the station was having. Luna remembered that day like it was yesterday. She had been in her lab analyzing some interesting radio signals from deep space when the news broke. Every screen in the facility suddenly switched to emergency broadcasts. The reporter's voice was shaking as she announced that Titan Station had suffered a catastrophic explosion. At first, Luna felt nothing. The news seemed unreal, like watching a movie. But then, her alien senses kicked in. The special connection she shared with David, the invisible thread that had always let her feel his presence, no matter how far apart they were, suddenly went quiet. Not just quiet. It vanished completely. Luna dropped to her knees right there in the middle of her lab. The pain was unlike anything she had ever experienced. It felt like someone had reached into her chest and ripped out half her soul. Her alien biology made the loss even more intense than what a regular human would feel. Her people were designed to bond completely with their chosen partners, and when that bond was broken, it was devastating. For weeks after the disaster, Luna could barely function. She would sit in her apartment, staring at pictures of David, waiting for some sign that he might still be alive. The official reports listed him among the missing, presumed dead. No bodies were recovered from the explosion site. The blast had been so powerful that it had completely destroyed the station and everyone on it. Luna's alien heritage made her grief process different from human mourning. Her body actually began changing at the cellular level, preparing itself for a lifetime without her bonded partner. Her enhanced senses, which had once helped her detect the faintest signals from space, now seemed dulled and useless. Food lost. Its taste, color seemed faded. Even her work, which had once brought her such joy, felt meaningless. Her colleagues tried to help, invited her to lunch, suggested she take time off, recommended counselors. But how could she explain to them what she was really going through? How could she tell them that she wasn't just sad about losing her boyfriend, but that her alien physiology was literally restructuring itself around permanent loss? Luna began working longer hours, staying late in the lab long after everyone else had gone home. The empty building felt appropriate somehow. The silence matched the emptiness inside her. She would sit at her computer mechanically processing data. But her heart wasn't in it anymore. Sometimes late at night, she would walk up to the observation deck and look out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Zephyr Prime, her father's homeworld. She'd never visited, but she knew that if she went there now, other people like her would understand her pain. They would know what it meant to lose a bonded partner, but Luna couldn't leave Earth. Not yet. Something deep inside her, some stubborn part of her alien nature, refused to give up completely. Even though her logical mind accepted that David was gone, her enhanced intuition whispered that something wasn't right about the whole situation. The official investigation into the Titan Station disaster had been completed quickly, Luna thought. The government declared it an industrial accident, blamed faulty equipment, and closed the case. The families of the victims received compensation and condolences, but no real answers. Luna had tried to access more detailed reports about what happened, but most of the information was classified. This struck her as odd. If it was really just an accident, why all the secrecy? Why wouldn't they release the technical details to help prevent similar disasters in the future? As the months passed, Luna fell into a routine of quiet investigation. During the day, she did her regular work, but at night, she used her security clearance to dig deeper into the Titan Station files. She found mentions of experimental projects, references to technologies she didn't recognize, and personnel assignments that didn't match the official story. Most frustrating of all, she couldn't find David's name in any of the detailed mission reports. According to the public records, he had been part of the security team, but the classified files made no mention of him at all. It was as if he had been erased from the official record. Luna's alien intuition grew stronger as she uncovered these inconsistencies. Something was very wrong with the whole situation. But without concrete evidence, she couldn't prove anything. She could only continue her lonely search for answers, hoping that someday the truth would reveal itself. Little did she know that her alien abilities were about to lead her to a discovery that would change everything she thought she knew about David's fate. It was a Tuesday night, almost 2 a.m, when Luna's life changed forever. She was alone in the Deep Space Monitoring Lab, doing what had become her nightly routine. While everyone else went home to their families, Luna stayed behind, searching through endless streams of data from space telescopes around the world. Most people would find this work incredibly boring. Hours of staring at computer screens, looking at radio waves and electromagnetic signals from distant stars. The computer systems automatically filtered out most of the noise, but Luna had learned to look deeper. Her alien heritage gave her senses that regular humans didn't possess. She could detect patterns that others missed, feel rhythms in the cosmic background that seemed random to everyone else. Tonight felt different somehow. Luna couldn't explain it, but something was pulling her attention toward a specific section of data. It came from the Kepler Observatory, one of the most advanced space telescopes humanity had ever built. The telescope was scanning a region of space over 1,000 light-years away. Looking for planets that might support life, Luna pulled up the raw data on her screen and began scrolling through the information. At first, everything looked normal. Just the usual cosmic radiation, light from distant stars, and the random electromagnetic noise that filled the universe. But then she saw it. Hidden deep within the background static was something that made her heart skip a beat, a pattern. Not the kind of natural pattern you might expect from a pulsar or other celestial object. This was different. This was artificial. Luna's hand started shaking as she isolated the signal and ran it through her analysis software. The pattern was incredibly faint, barely detectable even with the most sensitive equipment on Earth, but it was definitely there. A repeating sequence that lasted exactly 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Then repeated again. 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Luna's breath caught in her throat. That was the exact length of David's favorite song, the one he used to hum when he was working on difficult problems, the one he would sing quietly to her when they were lying together looking up at the stars. It had to be a coincidence. Luna told herself this over and over as she dug deeper into the data. Signals from space were tricky things. Solar flares could create patterns. Equipment malfunctions could generate false readings. The human mind was great at seeing meaning in random events, especially when you desperately wanted that meaning to exist. But Luna's alien senses were screaming at her that this wasn't random. Every enhanced instinct she possessed was telling her that this signal was connected to David somehow. The frequency matched something deep in her memory, something that felt familiar in a way she couldn't quite explain. She spent the next 3 hours analyzing every aspect of the signal. She ran it through dozens of different filters, compared it to known sources of cosmic interference, and cross-referenced it with every database she could access. Nothing matched. Whatever was creating this pattern, it wasn't natural, and it wasn't coming from any known human technology. The signal originated from a star, system designated Kepler 442. Luna looked up everything she could find about that region of space. It was over 1,200 light-years from Earth. No human spacecraft had ever traveled anywhere close to that distance. Even if they had, the journey would take thousands of years with current technology. As dawn approached, Luna made a decision. That would have seemed crazy to anyone watching. She decided to trust her alien intuition. Something was telling her that this impossible signal was connected to David. She was going to find out what that connection was. Luna began coming in early and staying late, using every free moment to study the signal. She discovered that it wasn't constant. Sometimes it would disappear for days at a time, then suddenly return stronger than before. The pattern never changed, but the strength varied dramatically. She also noticed that the signal seemed to get stronger during certain times of the day. Luna realized that this corresponded to when the Kepler region was directly overhead from Earth's position. It was as if whatever was sending the signal knew where Earth was, and was trying to aim the transmission directly at their planet. But the most disturbing discovery came when Luna started analyzing the signal using techniques she had learned from her father's people. Her alien heritage included knowledge of communication methods that human science hadn't discovered yet. When she applied these techniques to the mysterious transmission, she found something that stopped her cold, embedded within the repeating pattern were what her people called bioresonance markers. These were like fingerprints, but instead of identifying a person's physical body, they identified their consciousness, their soul. Every intelligent being had a unique bioresonance signature, and Luna had been naturally attuned to David's signature since the day they met. The signal from Kepler 442 contained traces of David's bioresonance pattern. Luna sat back in her chair, feeling like the world was spinning around her. It was impossible. There was no way David could be alive, and even if he was, there was no way he could be over 1,200 light-years away. The physics didn't make sense. The timeline didn't work. Everything about this discovery defied logic and reason, but Luna's body was responding as if David was somehow, impossibly still alive. The alien physiology that had been slowly shutting down over the past 18 months was suddenly showing signs of activation. She could feel dormant cellular processes beginning to stir. Her enhanced senses, which had been dulled by grief, were becoming sharper and more sensitive. Most importantly, she was starting to feel something she hadn't experienced since the Titan station disaster. Luna knew she couldn't tell anyone about this discovery. Not yet. Who would believe her? A faint signal from an impossible distance that only she could properly detect and analyze. They would think she was having some kind of breakdown. That grief had finally driven her over the edge. Instead, she decided to keep investigating on her own. Every night, she would return to the lab and continue monitoring the signal. She began keeping detailed records, noting every variation in strength and timing. She started cross-referencing the signal with other data streams, looking for any clue that might explain how this impossible communication was reaching Earth. As the days passed, Luna became more and more convinced that David was alive. Not just alive, but actively trying to contact her. The signal seemed to be getting more focused, more intentional. It was as if someone on the other end was learning how to operate unfamiliar equipment. Getting better at sending their message across the vast emptiness of space, Luna's alien abilities continued to strengthen as her hope grew. She found herself able to detect subtle variations in the signal that would have been completely invisible to human sensors. She could feel patterns within patterns, messages hidden so deep in the cosmic noise that only someone with her unique heritage would ever find them. But with hope came fear. If David was alive, why had he been declared dead? How had he traveled such an impossible distance? And most terrifying of all, if he was trying so desperately to contact Earth, what did that mean about his current situation? Luna realized she was going to need help if she wanted to get to the bottom of this mystery. But first she needed to be absolutely certain that what she was detecting was real, and not just the desperate imaginings of a grieving heart. The truth she was about to uncover was to be more incredible than anything she could have imagined. Luna knew she couldn't solve this mystery alone. After 3 weeks of studying the impossible signal, she had reached the limits of what she could discover by herself. The bioresonance patterns were definitely David's, but she still had no idea how he could be sending them from over 1,200 light-years away. She needed to talk to someone who understood the technical side of the Titan Station mission. But who could she trust with something this incredible? Most of her colleagues would think she had lost her mind. They would probably recommend therapy and time off work. Then Luna remembered Dr. Rachel Chen. She worked in the theoretical physics department, just 2 floors up from Luna's lab. Rachel had a reputation for being brilliant, but also a bit eccentric. More importantly, Luna had heard rumors that Rachel used to work on classified government projects before joining the research center. It took Luna 3 days to work up the courage to approach her. She finally cornered Rachel in the cafeteria during lunch when most other people were too busy eating to pay attention to their conversation. "Dr. Chen," Luna said, sitting down across from her, "I was wondering if I could ask you about something that might sound a little crazy." Rachel looked up from her salad, studying Luna's face with sharp, intelligent eyes. "Crazy how? Are we talking about impossible physics or government conspiracy crazy?" Luna felt her heart racing. "Maybe both." Rachel set down her fork and leaned forward. "I'm listening." Luna took a deep breath and began explaining about the signal. She showed Rachel the data on her tablet, pointing out the patterns and frequency variations. She was careful not to mention the bioresonance aspects or her alien heritage. That would come later, if at all. As Luna talked, she watched Rachel's expression change from polite interest to genuine surprise, to something that looked almost like fear. "Where did you say this signal was coming from?" Rachel asked quietly. "Kepler 442 system, about 1,200 light-years away." Rachel was quiet for a long moment, staring at the data. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "Luna, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Why are you really interested in this signal? What made you look for it in the first place?" Luna felt like Rachel could see right through her. "I lost someone in the Titan Station disaster. Commander David Torres. I've been ... hoping ... Debanide. Rachel closed her eyes and rubbed her forehead. "Oh, this is bad. This is really bad. What do you mean?" "I mean, you might be right about the official story." Rachel looked around the cafeteria to make sure no one was listening, then leaned even closer. "Can you meet me in my office tonight, around 10, when the building is mostly empty?" Luna nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. That night, Luna made her way up to Rachel's office. The building felt different after hours, quieter and somehow more mysterious. Rachel was waiting for her with a pot of coffee and a thick folder marked with government classification stamps. "Before I show you anything," Rachel said, "I need you to understand that what I'm about to tell you could get us both in serious trouble. The people involved in covering this up have resources we can't imagine." "I understand," Luna replied, though she wasn't sure she really did. Rachel opened the folder and pulled out several documents. "I used to work for a government research division that most people have never heard of. We studied experimental communication technologies, things that the public wasn't ready to know about." She handed Luna a photograph. It showed David in what looked like a laboratory, standing next to some kind of complex electronic equipment. "Your David wasn't just part of a security team," Rachel continued. "He was selected for a top-secret project. They were testing something called quantum entanglement communication technology." Luna felt her alien senses tingling. Quantum entanglement was something her father's people understood much better than humans. It was a way of connecting particles across vast distances so that changes to one particle would instantly affect the other, no matter how far apart they were. The idea, Rachel explained, was to create instant communication between Earth and distant space stations. No more waiting hours or days for messages to travel through space. Everything would be instantaneous. But something went wrong, Luna guessed. Very wrong. The team was testing a prototype device when the station exploded. But here's the thing. The explosion wasn't an accident. It was caused by the quantum device itself. Rachel pulled out more documents, showing technical diagrams and test results that Luna didn't fully understand. "The device didn't just create a communication link," Rachel continued. "It created what we call a quantum bridge, tunnel through space-time that connected the station to a distant location." Luna's heart stopped. You mean the explosion? Didn't kill David and his team? It transported them, threw them across space to the other end of the quantum bridge." "But where?" Luna asked, though she was starting to suspect she already knew the answer. "According to our calculations, the other end of the bridge was in the Kepler 442 system." Luna sat back in her chair, feeling like the world was spinning around her. Everything was starting to make sense. The signal she had been detecting wasn't impossible at all. David wasn't dead. He was stranded on a planet over 1,200 light years away, desperately trying to repair his communication equipment to send a message home. "Why didn't anyone tell the families?" Luna asked, anger rising in her voice. "Because the project was completely illegal," Rachel said sadly. "Testing experimental quantum technology without proper safety protocols. If the public found out that the government had accidentally teleported a bunch of people across the galaxy, can you imagine the scandal? So they just declared everyone dead and covered it up? It was easier than admitting the truth. And honestly, most people thought the transported team really was dead. The chances of surviving on an unknown planet with no supplies seemed impossible. But Luna's alien heritage was telling her something different. Her enhanced connection to David had never completely disappeared. It had just been stretched across an unimaginable distance. Now that she knew the truth, she could feel him more clearly than she had in months. "Rachel," Luna said slowly, "think David is alive. Not just transported, but actually alive and trying to contact us." Rachel looked at her carefully. "What makes you so sure?" Luna knew this was the moment of truth. She could continue hiding her alien nature, or she could trust Rachel with her biggest secret. "Because I can feel him," Luna said quietly. "I know how that sounds, but I've always had a connection to David that goes beyond normal human relationships. When he disappeared, I felt him fade away. But lately, especially since I found that signal, the connection has been getting stronger." Rachel was quiet for a long moment. "Luna, is there something about yourself that you haven't told me? Something that might explain these abilities you're describing?" Luna took a deep breath. "My father wasn't from Earth. I'm only half human." Instead of looking shocked or disbelieving, Rachel just nodded slowly. "That actually explains a lot. Including how you were able to detect that signal in the first place. You believe me? I've seen enough impossible things in my career to keep an open mind. And if you really can sense David across that distance, then you might be our only hope of getting him and his team home." Luna felt a surge of hope mixed with determination. For the first time since the disaster, she had real answers. David was alive, stranded but fighting to survive. And now she knew where he was and why he had disappeared. The question was, what were they going to do about it? The moment Luna fully accepted that David was alive, something inside her broke open like a dam bursting. All the grief, all the careful emotional control she had maintained for 18 months, came crashing down at once. But instead of the crushing sadness she expected, what hit her was overwhelming joy mixed with a physical sensation unlike anything she had ever experienced. Rachel watched in alarm as Luna suddenly doubled over in her chair, gasping for breath. Soft blue light began appearing under Luna's skin, creating patterns that looked almost like glowing veins. "Luna, what's happening to you?" Rachel asked, reaching out to help. "I don't know," Luna managed to say between gasps. "My body feels like it's waking up from a long sleep. Everything is changing." The light under her skin grew brighter, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Luna could feel her alien physiology reacting to the news in ways she had never experienced before. For 18 months, her body had been slowly preparing itself for a lifetime without David. Her cells had literally been restructuring themselves around the idea of permanent loss. Now, suddenly learning that David was alive, her body was trying to reverse all those changes at once. Rachel helped Luna to the small couch in her office and brought her a glass of water. "Is this normal for your people?" she asked gently. "I don't think so," Luna replied, her voice shaking. "My father told me stories about our people, but I've never heard of anything like this happening before." The emotional storm inside Luna was getting stronger by the minute. 18 months of suppressed love, hope, and longing were all hitting her at the same time. She felt like she was drowning in feelings that were too big for her body to contain. But there was something else happening too. The bioluminescent patterns under her skin grew brighter. Luna began to sense David more clearly than she had since the day he disappeared. It was faint, like trying to hear a whisper in a noisy room, but it was definitely there. "Rachel," Luna said suddenly, gripping her new friend's arm. "I can feel him right now. He's working on something, some kind of equipment. And he's thinking about me. Are you sure?" Luna nodded, tears streaming down her face. "He doesn't know that I know he's alive. He's been trying to fix their communication equipment for months, hoping to send a signal that I might somehow detect. He chose frequencies that only I would recognize because of my enhanced hearing. The connection was getting stronger." Luna could sense David's desperation, his fear that he might never see her again, but also his determination to keep trying. She could feel how much he missed her, how he thought about her every single day. "This is incredible," Rachel whispered, watching the light patterns dance under Luna's skin. "You're actually connected to him across 1,200 light-years of space." But the intensity of the experience was becoming too much for Luna to handle. Her alien heritage had given her the ability to form deep emotional bonds, but it had also made her vulnerable to something her father's people called connection overload. When the bond with a life partner was suddenly restored after being severed, it could overwhelm the nervous system. Luna's vision started to blur, and she felt like the room was spinning around her. The joy of knowing David was alive was mixing with phantom pain from all the grief she had carried, creating a confusing whirlwind of emotions that her mind couldn't process. "I think I need to lie down," Luna said weakly. Rachel helped her stretch out on the couch and dimmed the lights in the office. "Should I call a doctor?" "No," Luna replied quickly. "No human doctor would understand what's happening to me. I just need time for my body to adjust." Over the next several hours, Luna experienced what felt like 18 months of emotions compressed into a single night. She would laugh with joy one moment, then cry with relief the next. The bioluminescent patterns under her skin continued to pulse and shift, creating a light show that was both beautiful and slightly unsettling. Rachel stayed with her through it all, bringing her water and food and making sure she was okay. As the night wore on, Luna began to tell Rachel more about her alien heritage and what it meant to have a bonded connection with someone. "For my father's people," Luna explained during a calm moment, "finding your life partner isn't just about love. It's about the consciousness merging into something bigger than either person alone. When that connection is broken, it's like losing half of yourself. And when it's restored, I'm learning that right now, Luna said with a weak smile. It's like every cell in my body is celebrating. As dawn approached, the intensity of Luna's experience began to settle into something more manageable. The light under her skin faded to a soft glow, and her breathing returned to normal. But she could still feel David's presence in her mind. Stronger and clearer than it had been since the day he disappeared. Rachel, Luna said, sitting up on the couch. I think I can communicate with him now. Not just sense him, but actually send thoughts and feelings back. How? I'm not sure exactly. But during the worst part of the night, when the connection was strongest, I felt like I could push my own thoughts across the distance between us. Like the quantum bridge isn't just one way. Rachel's eyes lit up with scientific curiosity. If that's true, if you can really communicate with David mentally, then you might be able to coordinate with him. Help him modify his equipment to send stronger signals? Luna nodded, feeling a surge of hope and determination, and maybe eventually find a way to bring him home. The two women looked at each other, both realizing that they were on the verge of something that could change everything. Not just for David and his stranded team, but for humanity's understanding of consciousness, quantum physics, and what was possible when love transcended the normal limits of space and time. But first, Luna needed to master this new level of connection. With David, she needed to learn how to control the flow of thoughts and emotions between them, without overwhelming either of their minds. Rachel, Luna said quietly, I'm going to need your help. What we're about to attempt has never been done before. We're going to try to use my alien abilities to establish two-way communication across impossible distance. What do you need me to do? Help me understand the technical side of their situation. If I can share my consciousness with David, I need to know what kind of equipment they have and what they need to make their signals stronger. Rachel nodded, already reaching for her files on the Quantum Bridge project. We're going to bring him home, Luna, whatever it takes. For the first time in 18 months, Luna felt truly hopeful. David was alive. He was thinking about her. And now she had a way to reach across the vast emptiness of space to touch his mind with hers. The real work was just beginning. 3 weeks after Luna's emotional breakthrough, she and Rachel had turned Rachel's office into a makeshift mission control center. Computer screens covered every available surface, displaying quantum frequency data, communication protocols, and star charts showing the position of the Kepler 442 system. Luna had been practicing her mental connection with David every day, learning to control the flow of thoughts and emotions between them. At first, the communication was chaotic and overwhelming, but gradually, she learned to focus her alien abilities like a radio operator tuning into a distant station. The breakthrough came on a Thursday evening when Luna managed to send David a clear, coherent message. She concentrated all her energy and pushed a single thought across the impossible distance. I know you're alive. I'm coming for you. Ow, da, 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 da. The response nearly knocked her off her feet. David's joy and relief flooded through their connection so powerfully that Luna actually laughed out loud in Rachel's office. But mixed with his happiness was desperation. David and his team were running out of time. Through their mental link, Luna learned the full truth about David's situation. The quantum bridge had indeed transported him and 11 other people to a planet in the Kepler system. The planet was habitable, with breathable air and water, but it was harsh and unforgiving. They had survived by rationing the supplies from their emergency kits and learning to live off the land. But their biggest challenge wasn't food or shelter. It was their failing equipment. The same quantum device that had brought them to this distant world was slowly breaking down. Without it, they had no way to send signals back to Earth and no way to create another bridge home. David showed Luna images through their connection. She saw him and his teammates living in makeshift shelters, working desperately to repair machinery. They barely understood. She felt his exhaustion, his worry about his friends, and his fear that they might die on this alien world without ever seeing their families again. Rachel, Luna said after one particularly intense communication session, we have to act now. David says their quantum device is failing. If it breaks completely, we'll lose contact forever. Rachel had been working around the clock using her government connections to quietly gather information about the original quantum bridge project. She'd managed to recruit 2 other scientists who had worked on the original experiment, Dr. Alex Thompson from MIT and Dr. Nina Patel from the European Space Agency. "I've been thinking about this problem," Rachel said, pulling up a new set of calculations on her computer. "The quantum bridge works both ways. If David's team can send a signal through it, then theoretically, we should be able to send one back." "What kind of signal?" Luna asked. "Not a communication signal?" A transportation signal. "We might be able to use your connection with David to create a new quantum bridge from this end." Luna felt her heart racing. "You mean bring them home?" "Exactly, but it would be incredibly dangerous. We'd be attempting something that has never been tried before, and if we get the calculations wrong, they could end up anywhere in the universe," Luna finished. Rachel nodded grimly. "Or nowhere at all." But Luna didn't hesitate. "David and his team are going to die on that planet if we don't try. I won't let that happen." Over the next week, the small team worked frantically to prepare for their rescue attempt.
Alex
And Nina brought additional equipment and expertise. While Luna practiced deepening her connection with David, she needed to be able to maintain contact with him while the quantum bridge was being created, guiding him through the process from the other. And the plan was complex and risky. Luna would use her alien abilities to establish a mental link with David while the Earth-based team activated a modified quantum bridge device they had assembled in secret. David would need to coordinate his team's failing equipment with their signal, creating a tunnel through space-time that both groups could control. The night of the attempt, Luna felt more nervous than she had ever been in her life. If this worked, she would see David again after 18 months of believing he was dead. If it failed, she might lose him forever. "Are you ready?" Rachel asked, her hand hovering over the activation switch. Luna lay down on a specially designed table, surrounded by sensors that would monitor her alien physiology during the process. She closed her eyes and reached out with her mind, searching for David's consciousness across the vast emptiness of space. There she found him, standing with his team around their own makeshift equipment on a rocky plateau under alien stars. Through their connection, she could feel his determination mixed with fear. He was as scared as she was, but he was ready. "I've got him," Luna said aloud. "Initialize the bridge." Rachel activated the quantum device, and immediately Luna felt like her consciousness was being stretched across the universe. Her alien abilities, pushed to their absolute limit, created a bridge of thought and emotion that spanned 1,200 light-years. The process was incredibly painful. Luna felt like she was being torn apart and rebuilt at the same time. But she held on, maintaining her connection with David as energy patterns she couldn't understand flowed through her mind. Through their link, she guided David as he worked to synchronize his equipment with theirs. She felt his hands moving over unfamiliar controls, his mind racing to understand the complex frequencies they needed to match. Then, suddenly, something clicked into place. Luna felt the quantum bridge stabilize, creating a tunnel through spacetime that connected Earth to the distant planet. But the bridge was fragile and wouldn't last long. "Now," Luna shouted. She wasn't sure if she was speaking aloud or just thinking the word. Through her connection with David, she felt him and his team step into the swirling energy of the quantum bridge. For a terrifying moment, she lost contact with him completely. The mental link that had sustained her through this entire experience went silent. Luna screamed, feeling like her soul was being ripped away. But then, impossibly, miraculously, she felt David's presence again. Not distant and faint like it had been for months, close and strong, and getting stronger by the second. The quantum bridge deposited David and his team in the middle of Rachel's lab with a flash of light and a sound like thunder. Luna sat up on her table, her alien abilities completely exhausted, but her heart soaring with joy. David stood across the room, looking older and more weathered than when she had last seen him, but very much alive. For a moment, they just stared at each other, hardly believing that this impossible reunion was really happening. Then David crossed the room in 3 quick steps, and pulled Luna into his arms. The moment they touched, Luna's alien heritage responded with a burst of bioluminescent light that filled the entire lab. Everyone present would later say it was the most beautiful thing they had ever seen. "I never stopped believing," David whispered. "In her ear. Even when I thought I might die on that planet, I never stopped hoping that somehow, some way, you would find me." "I felt you calling to me," Luna replied, tears streaming down her face. "My alien abilities led me right to you." As they held each other, Luna realized that their love story had become something bigger than either of them had ever imagined. They had proven that some connections truly could transcend death, distance, and the laws of physics as humans understood. Their bond, strengthened by Luna's alien heritage and tested by impossible circumstances, literally moved mountains and crossed the stars to bring them back together, and now, finally, they were home.